So I want to start about your your beginnings and musical taste. You know.
Well, it's interesting because I am a classically trained musician. I started playing violin when I was 10, and then I played French horn and trumpet. And in high school, I started taking opera lessons actually. At 16, my mom would take me to the college, and I auditioned for a professor and I started studying classical music. So a lot of my upbringing was really classical, but I loved rock and roll.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
loved rock and roll. Like, one of my first albums was the Beach Boys. And I liked kind of like really funky stuff, like the stylistics, like really funky, cool, like jazzy stuff. I mean, I had this little pink radio in my room, and I would like turn it on, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, I love this," or "I love this," and and so I really love music in general. And even to this day, I will listen to classical. I'll listen to jazz. I'll listen to everything. And then I remember my brother's friend brought over an album, and we were all having dinner at the dining room table, and he brought over "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" by Cyndi Lauper, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this girl is like the most incredible thing. Like, I kept, because my parents had this big like stereo in the living room, and
Yeah.
I kept on making him put the needle back on the record. Like, I'm like, oh, I got to hear that again. I got to hear that again. Like, I love Cyndi Lauper. So, like, my musical beginnings are really, really mixed. I loved Deep Purple when I was growing up.
Deep
I mean,
Purple.
Deep
Okay.
Purple, okay? Like, I was like, dun, 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 dun. Like, it was so cool for me.
Incredible.
Um,
And when you were in a school, you were like the popular girl, the shiny.
so in the beginning of high school, I was the dork, like not cool at all. Where I was with my violin case and my big string bass and all this kind of stuff. But then my sophomore year, I decided, okay, enough of this, which is
Yeah.
really bad. Um, I quit playing violin probably because of this reason, which is horrible. And I became a cheerleader. And then that changed my world. So, yeah, I can't say that was a great choice, but,
No,
whatever.
it's like a strange period, it's very complicated for some people there.
High school is a really like weird time. You're like growing, you're like learning who you are. But
Yeah.
like I had really fun in high school. And then I actually applied to different colleges, and I got accepted to a lot of them for opera.
Mhm.
And so I
Okay.
got my undergrad degree in opera. And that was really, really neat. My senior year of college, I entered the New York State opera competition. This
Uh-huh.
is a really cool story. And I won. Like, I couldn't believe I won, to be honest with you. I was shocked. And the prize, I guess you'll say, I actually got to perform at Avery Fisher Hall and do a solo concert recital,
Oh,
which is incredible. I mean, I wasn't even 21 years old. And I can tell you something, that was one of the most nerve-wracking things I've ever done in my life. But it was really great. And so then that same year, I won Miss New Jersey, and I went to the Miss America pageant.
yeah.
And then I had to complete my obligations for my reign. And after I graduated, a lot of girls from the pageant all came to New York to try to
Mhm.
make it in Broadway or dancing. And for me, I wanted to go to New York to make it in Broadway. And so I was auditioning and going to cattle calls, they call them, like hundreds of girls showing up, and you had 13 measures to sing. And so back then, obviously, we had no internet, we
Yeah.
had no cell phones. And so the way you would find out about auditions was to pick up this paper at the newsstand every week, and it was called Backstage. And
Hmm.
you'd open Backstage, and there was like ads for singers, ads for dancers, singers who can dance, dancers who can sing, musicians, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so um, I would audition for everything just because I thought it was important to audition because you learn, every time that you do an audition.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so actually that day I was with Miss North Carolina and we were going to auditions together. And we went on a cruise line audition, which I just went to go because I never wanted to go and be stuck on a boat for 6 months.
Hmm.
And I said to her, hey, there's this audition, and it was posted, and it said, looking for lead singers and it said rock and roll band. And I'm like, heck yeah. So I said, do you want to go? And she said, no. But the ad was a little like, eh. And I said, if I don't come down in like 20 minutes, come and get me. She goes, I'm going to go get something to eat. And I said, okay. So I went upstairs. I can tell you still, it was 57th and Broadway. I don't remember the floor.
Yeah.
And I go upstairs and there's Joe Lodato and Bobby Orlando. And I introduced myself. I had my headshot with me. I handed them my headshot and my resume. And then they said, well, we'd like you to sing something. And I had stuff ready for Broadway. And I said, okay, what would you like? And they said, well, we want to play you this record. So they dropped a needle on the record.
Yeah.
And they said, can you sing this? And I said, yeah, let me hear it just one more time, though. And so they did it again. And then I sang it back. And there was just silence in the room. And then they got another record and they dropped the needle on that record and said, can you sing this? And I said, yeah. So I sang it. And I mean, my life should be like this again. Like literally, I almost signed a record contract on the spot, but I did. I signed a record contract within like a week.
Uh-huh.
And it was really exciting.
Yeah.
Bobby was a really dynamic guy. He was very prolific. I mean, he would write and write and write and write. And so the first group I was in
Yeah.
was called Waterfront Home, and I couldn't find my album cover, but
Oh,
I got my
amazing.
CD. I'll find it yet. And this is me, and
Yeah.
this is Tony,
Tony
and I did
Castle.
Tony Casso, and I did find the single LP, which you can see here, and I don't know if you can see, but our hit single was "Take a
Yeah.
Chance,"
Take a
and I know
chance.
it's destroyed. This is like so
It's
old, this thing.
wonderful. It's like gold, you
Yeah,
know.
it is like gold. Yeah, and so that was a hit, "Take a Chance," and I love that song to this day. It's one of my favorite
Yeah.
songs. And actually, when I put the group back together back in 2010 or 11, whatever it was, people said, oh my God, is this Christina Crocione, like also from Waterfront Home? And I said, yes. And they said, oh my God, can you sing Take a Chance? So actually, on all our full set gigs, we do Take a Chance. Actually, we put
Okay.
it in the set because
Yeah.
I love it. It's actually usually the second song. We open with Helpless and then we go to Take a Chance because I love the energy and I like
Yeah.
how it just
It's
flows
a song
together.
with a lot of energy. I love, well, I say this, but I love the back vocals. Can you remember the name of the guy who did that
Yes,
vocals? Um,
Wendell.
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 Fantastic.
He,
It's like, oh, a
when
chance on me. It's fantastic.
take a chance on me, take a chance on me.
Oh,
Actually, Wendell did all of Bobby O's background. He was incredible. He and his
yeah.
wife Marion did the vocals, and Marion's sister. Those were the three people who did almost every single background vocal you hear on the Flirts, Divine. Every single record was Wendell. He was a really great guy, super talented, and
Oh.
actually I'm still in touch with him.
Well, Wendell, if you are watching this, hi. You
Tell
are
him.
amazing.
Oh, he'll love that. So that was after Waterfront Home.
Yeah.
Bobby and Joe Lodato decided to rebrand Tony and I. And
Mhm.
so Waterfront Home went to bed. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, we were Hotline. And that's me. And that's Tony.
Okay.
Isn't that a cool picture?
Yeah.
And you can't see it because of the glare, but down here is a logo. And this guy's name was James Kriegsman. And
Please.
this guy shot so many big bands in New York City in the 80s. Like, and that this was really cool that we got to do this headshot with him.
It's 100% 80s, that picture.
Oh my
With
God,
the
look at my
hair, you know.
perm. This is my perm. I mean, my God. I had the straightest hair in the world, but I would get my hair first. And then I put this like, ribbon in my hair, like total Madonna, like, my God.
How many hours preparing the hair?
No, no, you know what? You would just go and they
Oh,
would put all of this chemical in your hair, and then
oh,
you'd walk out like a French poodle. I mean, you just have all this hair, and then you'd have to do it like, I don't know, every couple of months or something like that. And this is so cool. So this is the LP
yeah,
from Hotline with our hit song Guilty. Can you see it?
guilty. Yeah,
And this is a fun song too. It actually was pretty big in Latin America, and it was definitely big in Mexico. And the last time I was in Mexico City, I was with Ronnie Griffith and Miss Kimberly, and we did a
yeah.
whole show together. And they asked us if, for the end of the show, if we could all sing Guilty. So we all did Guilty together, and it was really
Oh,
fun. It was
great.
really fun. And so during this time, I was in the studio a lot, and I thought I was recording more songs for Hotline. And then Bobby and Joe were going through something with Andrea and Rebecca.
Mhm.
And so at that point, they said, Christina, would you become the lead for the Flirts? And I'm like, yes, I will.
Of
And
course.
so, not knowing I was already on, the record before, thinking
Yeah.
that that was going to go on to Hotline. But then they asked me to do this, and then we had
Oh,
this,
amazing
and I
that.
know it's, yeah, and this is me. I was the brunette back then. This
Yeah.
is Deborah, and this is Christy. And so this I sent to my parents, and you can't really see it. You can just see a little bit of the silver. But I
Mm.
said, "Dear Mom and Dad, look at what you created. Hope you enjoy it. We're having a great time." And then all of us signed it, and I sent it to my parents, and she saved it.
Oh,
She sent it back to
wow.
me.
Wow.
So yeah, it was
So
fun.
lovely.
And
So lovely.
this is when we went on our first world tour, and we promoted Helpless because that was our
Yeah.
big hit. Helpless, You Took My Love. So we did movies and we did television shows and we toured like all over Europe, and it was really fun. One day in Europe on that first tour, we started out in Cologne.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had to go someplace else in Germany. We
Yeah.
had to drive to Belgium to do a television show. And then, oh, this is a great story. Uh, this is a great story. And then we had a show someplace else. And I think it was in Bern. So when we got back from the television show, my our A&R director gave us a Mercedes. Now we're going back again to the 80s. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
no GPS.
Yeah.
There's no cell phones. Wrote down directions, and I'm in Germany, and I'm driving, okay? And I loved it because they gave us a Mercedes, and I'm on the Autobahn, and I used to be a little crazy, and I'm like, I'm going like 80, 90 miles an hour, and the girls are so pissed off at me because I'm driving like a maniac, which they should have been. And they gave us this exit, which was called Essen, Essen. Like, I remember this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And all of a sudden, I'm on the Autobahn and I see all the signs, and there's like 6 exits for Essen. 6 exits for Essen. I want to tell you, this is when the good Lord and my angel were like
Mhm.
on my shoulder. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know which one to get off of. So I picked one. I don't remember, 3 or 4, whatever it was. And get off the Autobahn and I drive and I pull up in front of this place that just has some lights.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wait here to the girls. And I walk in and I said, no sprechen Sie Deutsch, because I couldn't speak German. And I said, do you know where blah, 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 blah is? And they kind of just looked at me and they're like, do you want to know something? I pulled up in front of the club. For real. This is a true story. I pulled up in front of the club.
Oh,
But I couldn't make that up if I tried. Like, is that not amazing when you think about it? I
wow.
pulled up in front of the club.
A GPS on your brain, you know?
That's my angel from God sent down for me to hook me up.
Incredible. Tell us what feeling the tours in Europe generate for you, you know, because I think that was very exciting doing this tour in Europe, visiting countries. Tell us about that.
It was incredible. It was really incredible. To let you in on a little secret, I grew up in a big Italian family. I'm the oldest of 5 children, and very conservative house. Was raised very conservatively Catholic. And so I didn't have a lot of world experience. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
um, all of a sudden, I'm going on tour, and I've never shared this with anybody actually. Um,
Oh,
the night before I left, I
mhm.
started crying because I was
Oh,
afraid. I was
yeah.
so scared. I'd never done anything like this before. I'd never been abroad before. Like, I didn't know what to expect. It was so foreign to me.
Oh,
And I was also the youngest of the flirts. The other girls were older than I was. And so I was just like, oh my gosh. And then all of a sudden, I got on the road and I'm like, whoa, this is for me. I was so excited. I loved it. It was crazy. I mean, there were really great times, but there were really hard times. We were sometimes
yeah.
like not in great accommodation. We were on the road for hours driving from place to place with our Zamboni cases. You know, it wasn't all glamour. We weren't at like fabulous hotels all
No.
the time or just getting on, jet planes. We were like, it was a hard, nose to the ground tour, but I loved it. Like I thrived. Like I thrived. I'm like, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on. Oh, another show? Sure. Oh, we got to go there? Let's go. It was so important to me. Our reputation was so important to me. The integrity of our music was so important to me. It just became my driving force. Like the Flirts had to be the best and had
Yeah.
to be the best that they could be. There was no being late. There was no not showing up. There was no not being there for sound check. Whatever it took, I made sure that we were present and there and accountable.
Now, yes, I want to know your experience visiting South America,
Yeah.
and I want to know that story, that
Uh,
curiosity.
and so we were booked to perform in Bogota, South America. And I was so excited because by now I had traveled and I wasn't nervous and I had the whole thing down. And so we got on a plane in New York and we stopped in Miami. And then from Miami, we flew into Bogota. So
Okay.
I'm like all excited and it's dark. It's late at night. And so they opened up the door to the plane, and then we had the stairs that descended to the tarmac.
Yeah.
So I'm like, and I'm hopping and skipping and jumping, and I like go flying down the stairs, and all of a sudden I'm like, stop, like dead in my tracks. Because when we got outside, the entire tarmac to the terminal had guards on either side holding machine guns, like machine guns. I'm not even talking about pistols, like machine guns. And I was just like, oh,
Oh
oh
my
my
God.
God. Like I got so scared. I thought I'd seen everything. Like, no, I had
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
I'm like, oh
Yes,
my
the poker
God.
face, you know, like
I did. Well, I don't even think I probably had a poker face. I think when I saw that, oh my God. Um, yeah, I mean, I pulled it together. And I can still remember, I can still like viscerally remember
yeah.
just walking down that tarmac and these guys with these machine guns. Like, it actually felt surreal. Like, I was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
Taking in consideration all your experience, because you were very important in the 80s music for a lot of people who went
mhm.
to the clubs to dance. I wanted your opinion about current music comparing to the 80s. What do you think about the music of today?
So here's what I always tell people. I am so lucky. Like, I do feel super blessed that I grew up in the 80s and had the 80s music. I don't think there will ever be another time that replicates it. And that was that much fun, and that the clubs were as vibrant as they were. And like, you can really dance to any music, but there was something about the 80s music for dancing that was just incredible, like incredible. But I do like today's music. Like, I love Pitbull. Like, I love, like, when I'm in the gym, like,
Yeah.
I'm working out to Pitbull. Like, I love it. And I love some of the new DJs and what they're doing, because to me, it's got a little bit of an 80s feel to it, like the
Yeah.
bass and like a little bit of four on the floor. Some of the stuff that they're doing in Vegas, some of those guys. I just heard a mix. Not if I had to choose any time to grow up or to be a part of music, it's definitely the 80s. But I think there's some good stuff out there coming out.
Now that we are talking about new stuff, do you have new projects to the future, for the future?
Yeah, yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I haven't wanted to do it for some reason until recently, but I'm going to probably re-record Helpless again.
Oh,
Well, I've
really?
never re-recorded. I'm going to re-record Helpless.
Yeah.
I already recorded Passion. I have a Passion that I did in the studio that's new. I did Calling All Boys already,
Great.
redid it.
Yeah.
And then um, kind of two really cool things. When I was actually, because we didn't get there. So this was the second album, Blondes, Brunettes, and Redheads.
Wow, fantastic.
And we had a hit called You and Me.
Yes.
And it did number one because Shep Pettibone, who was a big, producer remixer, did it. And so that was really neat. And I have something to show you that's so cool. So You and Me was really big here, and we did a really fun MTV video. So this is an album,
Ah,
a single. Check this out. This is from Japan, and
wow.
it's written in Japanese in the back, and they did anime. And so that's me, which I love. That's Deborah and Trissa, and see, You and Me.
So
And
funny.
and that's the back of it. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
has ever seen this. This is the first time. And then this was the last album
yeah,
that I did, which was Questions of the Heart. And that's, where am I? Oh, that's me
yeah,
there. And this was really cool. We shot this down at the 79th Street Boat Basin on the east side in New York City. So,
yeah.
and that was like a really fun shoot. So what happened was that was my last album with the Flirts, and I decided I wanted a solo career. And so I wrote music with a really big guy today, especially too. His name's Bonsai Jim Caruso, and he's got a bunch of Grammys. And we wrote a bunch of music together.
Great.
And then there was another guy named Alan, and he came to me and said, you know, I've got some songwriters. And so do you want to do this song? And so I listened to the song, and it was so good. It was so, so good. So we shopped that single, and I got signed by Polygram
Yeah.
Records for a solo. And it was the deal was a single with an album if they wanted it. And so I was so excited about this single. We went into the studio, we did the whole thing.
Right.
And then Polygram merged with another record company, and my A&R director wasn't there anymore. So my cassette sat on a desk for a long time, not doing anything. So I still have that single. And then when I did Questions of the Heart the last time here in LA, we were performing, and Marty Abrams, who shot the You and Me video, said, hey, I've got a friend named Barry Goldberg, and he writes a lot for movies in Hollywood, and he's got this song for a movie and wanted to know if you'd sing it. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to do that. And it was a movie called Night of the Creeps, and it's a really bad horror film, except that it got a cult following. Like, people go to Comic-Con and like they watch this really bad movie. It's like hysterical. But the song that he wrote was incredible, and it was called You Got Me Thinking Twice. And you know, I just wasn't business savvy when I was that young. Like, had I been, you know, a little bit more on the business side and not the musician side, I would have released that single myself, but I didn't even think to do it because it was great. And I think it would have been a hit. And Barry did such a great job on it. So on this new project that I'm doing, I'm going to put on this song that nobody's ever heard that got signed to Polygram. I'm going to put on this song from the movie track. I'm going to do, you know, a remake of Helpless. And I've been talking to Bonsai Jim, and I think we might do one of the songs that we co-wrote together back in the 80s. Like, I recorded it in my closet. We'll do it better. But I think we might release one of those songs on this too. So there's going to be some really neat stuff that people have never heard before.
Yeah. I love it, because there is a lot of demos there from the 80s waiting. Waiting.
Yeah, there's some bad ones too. I got to tell you, there's the one or two I would never let anybody hear.
It's very, very cool because you have a lot of experience with other artists, bands. It's really amazing that you are telling us all these things, you know. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
I'm very happy for that.
I'm happy. You know what? I had completely forgotten that story until we started talking. You know, and you and I started talking a few days ago to get ready for the interview. And it's funny because I don't talk about it that much, believe it or not. You know, I mean, I just don't. I'm pretty quiet about it and pretty humble about it. People sometimes find out about me before I know that they know who I am, because they'll look me up and they'll go, oh my God, you were Christina Crocione from the Flirts. And I'm like, yeah, like, you know. And so, but as you and I started talking about the interview and just, you know, doing questions back and forth with one another, it started, you know, like making me remember stories I'd completely like forgotten.
That's the idea.
You
That's the idea.
When I told you, I don't think I've ever told anybody that before. That's the first time I think I've told anybody about that story and what happened afterward. So, and it was a great memory to visit. You know, it was like, that was such a good memory.
I don't know if you wanna give us a message for all the fans from the Flirts, Water from Home, High Energy Style.
Yeah, I do. You know, I have to tell you something. I am eternally grateful for my fans in Argentina and Latin America and all over the world. You have made my dream, I'm gonna cry, possible.
No,
Like,
please.
if it wasn't for all the fans, like, I never would have gotten to experience everything I have. And I am such gratitude and really humbled by all of you and really grateful.
It was a pleasure just have this opportunity to talk with you, to just keep in touch on WhatsApp. It's amazing, you know. I'm very happy for this. You know, I'm 26 years old. I didn't live the 80s, but I really love high energy Euro disco, Italo disco, and the Flirts is always on my playlist on Spotify. You know.
I love it. I love it. I love, you know, and I think, you know, just, I don't know, we've got to probably wrap up here, but what's really neat is in Mexico, we're starting to get a young generation of
Yeah.
people who are starting to like the music again because they were little and they remember their parents playing the music when they were getting ready to go out to the clubs.
Yes.
And I was so surprised because I live here in Hermosa Beach. And so I'm pretty close to the ocean and I walk every single day, like 5 miles.
Yeah.
And one day I was walking along the boardwalk, so to speak, and
Mhm.
there's this girl, and all of a sudden I hear danger blasting like
Ah,
on her radio. And I stopped and I turned around and I said, are you listening to Danger? And she was very young and she said, yes. And I just started smiling and I said, that's actually me. I'm like,
oh my
she
God.
goes, no way. And they said, yeah. I said, I'm surprised. I said, like, how do you know about that? She said, my mom used to play it when she was getting ready to go out. And I
Yeah.
love this song. Like it was one of those really cool situations. You know,
Oh
it was
my God.
really, really neat.
Well, Christina, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really, really love it. All the things that we talk. Thank you very much for your time. Yeah.
Oh, I want to say thank you. Thank you so much. This has been such an amazing experience to talk to you and share things with you. And you've been a really, really gracious host. So, in gratitude.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just have a nice night
Okay.
there,
Okay.
and
Okay.
just keep in touch. Okay.
Okay. Will do. Ciao.
Ciao.
Okay.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.